For decades, we've measured poverty using things like income brackets and poverty lines. But what if there's a simpler, maybe even more powerful way to see who's really being left behind? Well, today we are diving into a pretty groundbreaking university study that proposes a new poverty code to visualize a nation's wealth. And it all kicks off in one small town. So let's head to Kuala Lipis, a rural town in Malaysia. It's exactly the kind of place that reflects the country's ongoing journey of economic development, which, makes it the perfect spot for researchers from the University of Kuala Lumpur to test out a brand new idea. So what they did was survey 100 random residents, and they asked them a very simple yes or no question. Do you currently earn any income? And the results, well, they were striking. 81% said yes, but 19%, that's nearly 1 in 5 people, said no. Now, at first glance, 81% having an income, that sounds pretty good, right? Like a success story. But that number actually hides a much more complicated reality, and it brings up a really important question. Yeah, is simply having some income, no matter how small or irregular it might be, is that a true measure of economic well-being? The report argues, pretty convincingly, that to really get a handle on poverty, we've got to look way beyond these simple numbers. So, let's do that. Let's take a closer look at the economic reality for the people of Kuala Lipis. Okay, so what's really fascinating here is the breakdown. Yeah, 45% have full-time jobs, but look at the rest. You've got a big chunk of people who are self-employed, working part-time, or are unemployed. This shows you that even inside that 81% who say they have income, there's a huge range of economic stability. And this brings us to such a crucial point. The researchers point out that our traditional income groups, B40 or M40, they completely miss the most vulnerable group of all, that 19% with zero income. They are, in the report's own powerful words, extremely deprived.
Now, this local story in Kuala Lipis, it doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? It's part of Malaysia's decades-long national mission to wipe out poverty.
And this timeline just illustrates that journey so well. I mean, you go from the new economic policy in the 70s, which was all about rural development, to the huge industrialization boom of the 80s and 90s, then the rise of direct cash aid in the 2000s, and now today's focus on targeted subsidies. The approach has just been constantly changing and evolving.
Which, of course, leads to the big question at the heart of this entire study. With so much progress already made, the poverty that's left is often harder to spot. It requires a new, much sharper lens to even see it. And that's where the researchers introduced their big idea, their core innovation, the Poverty Code. Okay, so the official name is the Poverty Graphical Coding Map, or PGC map. Just think of it as a whole new framework that helps us see poverty not through complicated income levels, but through that one simple binary yes or no question about income. The key metric this whole map uses is something called the Income Presence Ratio, or IPR for short. It's just the percentage of people in any group who have at least some source of income coming in. Simple as that. And the methodology is just beautiful in its simplicity. You survey people, you ask that one yes or no question, you code yes as a 1 and no as a 0, and then you just calculate the percentage of yes answers. Boom, that's your IPR. So, let's bring this all back to our case study in Kuala Lipis. The income presence ratio is 81%. It's a single, really powerful number that gives us a clear baseline of economic participation in that community. But the real innovation here isn't just the number. It's how the researchers decided to visualize it. I mean, how do you turn a percentage into a picture that tells a much, much deeper story?
And this brings us to, honestly, the most visually stunning part of the entire report, where all this data just comes to life. The income double helix.
And here it is. This is a prototype model the researchers created. It's a double helix, and each of those 100 squares represents one of the people they surveyed in Kuala Lipis. It's not just data anymore, is it? It's like a portrait of an entire economy.
The code behind it is so simple. Each white square is one of the 81 people who said they had an income. And each black square, that represents one of the 19 people who have no income at all. You can literally see the 19% scattered throughout the whole economic structure.
But why a double helix? Well, the symbolism is just brilliant. The intertwined strands show us that those with and without income are deeply connected. A shock to one group is going to affect the other. And the spiral shape, that represents the dynamic, ever-changing nature of the economy. People are constantly moving between the black and white squares because of job loss, new policies, or new opportunities.
So, once you can see the problem this clearly, what do you do about it? How do you fix it?
Well, the report doesn't just stop with this powerful diagnosis, it moves on to concrete solutions.
The recommendations really focus on building up resilience. They're talking about better job matching to connect people to work, upskilling programs so people have the skills the market needs, giving direct support to small businesses, and, of course, strengthening that social safety net for those who inevitably fall into that no-income category.
And this final quote from the report really just perfectly sums up the main takeaway. It concludes that poverty is not some temporary problem you can solve with a few cash handouts. No, it's a structural issue that needs long-term, integrated strategies. This whole new way of seeing things was applied to just one town, but it leaves all of us with a really powerful question to think about. If you were to map the economic DNA of your own community, what would that double helix look like? And who would be represented by the black squares?